Good afternoon, students. Uh, Today's session, we will be going through a revision of the copyright laws. Even though I have, for the majority of a few people, I have taught the concept of copyright. But still, for some, that is LLB 2017 students, I haven't done it, but yet I have given majority of the study materials in the classes as well. So we'll just go through and we will just revise once again, which will be again helpful for brushing up your concept, if any. Whatever concept you'll be having doubt, you can met out here, or the study material that I will be providing with you all will also be sufficing the same. Here again, in the copyright, we will be also going through the present amendment that has gone through, and what are the changes also that has been brought up in the Copyright Amendment 2012. So to begin with, we need to understand the meaning of copyright. Well, it is, as you know, that it is one of the unique kind of intellectual property. Through this right, a person acquires in a work which is the result of his intellectual labor, which is also called his copyright. The primary function of a copyright law is to protect the fruits of a man's work, labor, and also, it is a protection given to him, which can prevent him from any kind of abusement or misusal of his work. The word copyright has been derived from the expression copier of words, which was first used in the Oxford Dictionary in 1586, which also connote the manuscript or a matter prepared for printing. So with the word copy, the functioning is also, the main meaning is known as the printing or any kind of manuscript. So thereby, according to the Black Law Dictionary, if we follow, it is the right of literary property recognized and sanctioned by a positive law. And the statutory definition, if we talk about the copyright, which means the exclusive right to do or authorize other and through certain kind of acts in relation to his literary, dramatic or musical work, and also for the artistic work, cinematography, sound recording. And the section 14 of the Copyright 1957 defines also the main characteristics of the copyright. That is the, the creation of a statute. That is the characteristics also we can say. The some monopoly rights, any form of protection from any kind of negative rights, multiple rights, and also the copyright only in the form of an form, not an idea, and also the neighboring rights. Moving on, the word which should come is why we required a copyright. The first is that the fair play, so that it should be in a fair minimum. No one should steal the work and the expression. Second is the exclusive right, that is any form of negative right preventing copying or reproducing. And of course, it is necessary to encourage any kind of expression which is useful for the public interest. So thereby, as I've said, it deals, the copyright moves on to literary, dramatic, musical, and artwork, protecting from the unpublished work or any kind of misuse, of course. If we talk about the concept of author's right, author's right is a right which is also known as the exclusive right given to an author, in which he can make copies, distribute copies of the work, perform his work publicly, display his work publicly, and also make derivative work. That is, he can reproduce or redevelop his work in any mode of time. So that these are the certain kind of rights which is being given to an author, which is also known as his exclusive rights. Indian Copyright Act of 1957, which governs the main progeny of the copyright relating to the rules of copyrights in India, and all the copyright laws are to be governed by the Copyright Act 1957. But however, if we kindly go to the next second slot, I have told also in the classes also that the copyright has gone through n number of amendments. To begin with, from from the year of 1911 to 2012, copyright has been amended n number of time. Also, you need to know that Indian Copyright Act was being valid from 1958, and it has introduced both civil and criminal remedies, uh, which also called as the which is also the gives to the main features or the basic principles. There are mainly if we talk about, there are two honored principles. The first is ex turpi causa non oritru, that is the no rights of action arises out of any kind of misuse, if any misusal is there. This particular copyright is also relates with the Indian contract section 65, which talks about the obligation of person who receive advantage under void agreements. Further, also it justifies the fair play. Also, it protects the particular law from the international also. So it is, once you are getting copyright in India, it will be declared to be protected under any globalized sector of the world. Copyright Act of 1983 and 1984, if we talk about the main objectives, it comes from the Berne and UCC, that is Universal Copyright, which talks about granting compulsory licensing and developing countries publication by the deceased author. Further, in 1984, it discouraged and prevented the widespread of video piracy. The terms, if we talk about the terms of copyright, it depends on the nature of the work. Please understand, copyright does not encourage any kind of novation or idea. Rather, it it introduces and it protects the expression of a person. It is usually licensed, or most work is licensed for 60 years, and broadcasting reproduction is for 25 years. Through the copyright, you can use it for fair play, library privilege, alternative licensing, that is Creative Commons, etc. Now, if we differentiate with the copyright versus trademark and patent, copyright protects the original work of the author, while patent protect the invention. Trademark again protect the words, symbols, phrases, designs, identifying the source of goods and service of one party and distinguishing them from those of the other. So each three sectors of IPR differs in their own way, but altogether the one common thing which is it's doing, that it is protecting the person's intellectuality. One common goal is it is protecting the intellectuality of a person, the thought of a person, the mindset of a person in its own sphere. If copyright is protecting the original work of the author, which includes the expression, the other two is compromising and protecting the invention or any kind of word or symbol or goods and service from that of the other. Moving on to the main important thing, that is the analysis of Copyright Amendment Bill 2012. If we talk about, please understand this particular 2012 amendment, it has been over the decade since the Copyright 1957 was extensively amended in 2012 with far-reaching ramifications for all the categories of stakeholders. The amendments purports to introduce a level playing fields of different categories of rights holders in the entertainment industry, recognizing the access need of youth of the copyright work in general and visually impaired population of the country in particular, aligning the copyright regime of the country with rapid advances in technology and streamlined copyright enforcement and administration. So to move on, this particular extended act amended made Indian copyright complemented with the WIPO Copyright and WIPO Performance and Phonograms Treaty Act. Please understand, WIPO phonograms, if you kindly understand the WIPO performances and phonogram, it also means one of the category, and it's one of the treaty, which is an international treaty signed by the WIPO organization. It usually deals with the digital information, digital environment, especially the performers, actors, singers, musicians, and also the producers of phonogram. The word phonogram means person who, or legal entities who take the initiative and have responsibility for fixing any kind of sound. Sound can be anything, which it can come from any particular thing. So that sound is what you call the phonogram. And thereby through this treaty, the Copyright 2012 has been parallel or has been made a complement or has become a replica to these two treaties. in this particular 2012 amendment, certain amendment has been improved, and certain again has become a negative aspect also. Especially the first thing which has been amended is the performers right. 2012 extended the right of a performers and broadcasting organization. The major thrust of amendments was on eliminating the unequal treatment meted out to lyrics and music composers of copyright works incorporated in cinematographic film, owing to the contractual practices in Indian entertainment industry. Especially if we talk about under the industrial practice, lyricists and musical composers were assigned all work in all the rights in the work to the producer of the film for a one thing lump sum payment. This entitled the lyricist and music composer having no further rights on royalty accessing their work, even if their work was being utilized in the mediums in the cinematography film. So this was the first thing that was being amended, and this particular thing was being amended by the if you talk about by inserting new section 38A. Further, also in the case of Indian Performing Rights Society versus Indian Motion Picture Association, wherein the apex court on inserting the new section 17B and 17C of the act concluded that the producers of the cinematography film was the first owner of the copyright, and no copyright subsists in the lyricist or the composer unless there is a contract to the contrary between them and the producer. This was the initial case that was being implemented in 1977. This 1977 decision was was extensively used in the industry against the interest of the composer and lyricist, and revenue earned through the avenues of commercialization of such work due to rapid advances in technologies were kept away from the composer and lyricist. To rectify this particular problem and to rectify this particular stark amendment was introduced in 17B and C, in which it was being clearly talked about that no impact on the authors of the work incorporated in the cinematography film. The amendment specifically recognizes the difference between the usage of the literary and musical work for incorporation in the cinematographic film, and also the other independent use of such work in different mediums and modes. And accordingly, the mandates that those assignment contract that precludes the right of the author of the literary or musical work incorporated in the cinematography film to collect royalties in case of utilizations of the work in the form other than the cinematography film would be void unless such assignment is made in favor of the legal heir of the author or copyright society of the collection and distribution of royalties. So even these were particular thing to make it non-profitable. The lyricist and the composers were also given the certain rights on the reclamation. Further, the newly introduced 52.1 ZB broadly talked about and allows the conversion of any work in accessible format by any person or an organization till such reproduction is for the benefit of person with any disability, and converting organization or person in working of a non-profitable basis. Further moving on, it also synced with the technological advances and concomitant with the international development, and especially section 65A and B are inserted so as to promote digital right management. Both these provisions will be aimed in protecting the rights of the copyright owners in the digital domain, of the rights of the copyright owners. And that may impede the fair use, that may inculcate and encourage the fair use rights of the copyright users. That was all that has been changed in this particular copyright amendment, and that was all that you have to study in the copyright. Further, also I'm sharing the material along with it. I would be suggesting that when you're writing your answers or assignment, try to add on these particular amendments that has been introduced in 2012, which will actually enhance your answers also. I hope this entire session was useful to you. But again, if you are not understanding any point, you are in a free access to mail me your queries, and I will be in a position, I will be glad to answer your queries if any. That was all for today. Thank you and have a nice day.